So, marketing your business. This was, of course, one of the big topics in the early poll when it came out. We have a few bullet points out there, and of course, we're interested in people submitting what your biggest obstacle has been in connecting with private contractors or establishing business partners and how you may have solved these challenges. But I'll go around the table, start with Gloria, kind of touch into what you see as sort of the keys when it comes to marketing your business.
Creating a succinct statement of capabilities. You know, I've been known as the capability statement queen, but the reason behind that is if you know how to identify quickly and succinctly your core competencies, your differentiators, and your past performance as relates to that target's needs, you'll hit a home run. If you have a generic message, you say the same thing to everyone about everything that you do, you're going to have failure.
You mean I shouldn't go talk to the Marines about my Navy work?
Can I pile on that
for the phone,
for a moment? You know, I see so many capability presentations put together by IT companies, and you could strip the logo off and everyone is the same.
Right.
They all say we are great at systems integration, IT services, and we're in cybersecurity too, because we heard you might be buying it. Everyone looks alike. You have to get beyond that and say, here's what we've accomplished. And it's the accomplishments that become interesting to the customer.
They want practical. Your past performance is king.
You got to make it real. You got to make it interesting, and there's nothing more boring than a laundry list of NACE codes and capability areas. So.
Yeah, so, you know, especially in the government market, credibility is everything. You can create all the demand and the sales leads and all of that, but unless you've got credibility from past performance or
as it relates
a strong
to
brand. I mean, a strong brand sometimes can carry you, but
a strong brand's only going to carry you so far.
You've got to have performance.
Performance
And
has to be
thing,
there. The relationships have to be there.
And if you're talking about past performance, your track record isn't what you say it is; it's what your clients say it is. So, to the greatest, the number actually, rather than just have a presentation about your company, have a presentation purely with your customers saying your current clients, and if there's anybody in government who will do it for you, literally their testimonials telling the story of your company, because otherwise it's internal marketing waffle, which is actually navel gazing.
And if you want real testimonials, go to PPIRS, PPIRS.gov, and that's where the shall we say, legal testimonials as to how they feel about the work that you did as a prime contractor.
Now, what'll be popping up on Michael's screen right now are all the companies out there that have no past performance whatsoever who are saying, okay, well, how do we get past performance in the first place? And so this is where you start getting into that whole preparation, lot preparation opportunity, that whole thing, where you take the advice that's been offered up on the table, you start establishing your rapport with some of the companies, small, medium, and large, that are already in these organizations doing the work. You go in there, you prove to them what you've done outside of the government arena or in the arena, show them your bona fides, and then you work it from there and establish yourself, get on some vehicles, get on some contracts, and get to work.
For those of you who are already in the government market, PPIRS is one of the databases that the government keeps on your past performance. And it's not what you claim it to be, it's what they said it is. If you're in the defense market, it's the CPARS. And for each of you committed to this market, you should assign one person in your company to be responsible for monitoring and managing and having a dialogue with the people administering those databases. Because if the government says something derogatory about your performance, you can challenge it, you can appeal it, you have the right to do that, and you can get the record reset. And if you're not watching it, there can be some very condemning information out there that will deprive you of future awards, and you will never know about it.
On the pure marketing side of things, if you have no current government contracts, and if you do have current government contracts, displaying your expertise can be as simple and as difficult as hosting your own podcasts, your own webinars, starting to get out there and using the social media that's available. But if you cannot enunciate what you are good at to yourself, you're never going to be able to do it to your clients. Deploying a webinar doesn't mean necessarily it's going to be a good webinar. So you've got to train people to do it right. But the fastest growing company in the government market is one that markets via relationships, via outbound sales, but also via live seminars and webinars, and that's Carahsoft. Carahsoft has an archive of over 1,000 webinars on their websites, and their salespeople use this extensively to push their technical expertise to products. It's not a sales tool, it's an education tool that facilitates the sales. So if you're not using these platforms at all, even as a new company to the government market, you're falling radically behind the curve.
Thought leadership.
So,
hey, Mike, I'd like to chime in too when I can.
Sure, I'll go to you next, Jimmy. Hold on 1 second. So we are
Thanks,
talking
Mike.
right now about how people are planning to focus their marketing strategy. And right now, 27% are saying attend more industry events. 12% are saying increase the use of social networks like LinkedIn, GovLoop, GovWin, those kinds of things. 61% right now are saying direct, one-on-one customer engagement, which makes sense based upon all the things that we've talked about, but I'm not going to poo-poo industry events or using social media because those are important tools.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about the importance of, when you're planning your marketing strategy, the importance of the industry events, because we've had a few people ask during the course of this event, does attending these industry events matter, or is everything already kind of decided, and am I wasting my time going to these things?
I mean, a lot of it has to do with, and again, this is one of the things that's changed over the years about the government sector. 20 years ago, I could call up any Ozdaboo in the government and get a meeting that day almost, and then call anybody else I had a relationship with and probably get in to see him that day. And it's not quite that easy nowadays. So the industry events, and the right ones, I'll kind of, articulate that, are your opportunity to get in front of some of the people that may be in that decision-making chain. So that, because you may not be able to get that one-on-one meeting with them or even a small group meeting. So if this is going to be kind of the launch point for you to get some sort of presence with them, you've got to pick the right ones, though. And you're going to be able to validate which ones are right by talking to folks that are doing what you do and find out which ones they see as valuable.
Yeah.
And
Jimmy,
then I think
sorry, I had Jimmy and I forgot about
sorry.
him. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy, and then Gloria, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Mike, I just wanted to piggyback a gear back to what Mark Amtower was saying. One of the critical things, and I was, just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, I was a director of marketing and sales for a startup 8A C to contractor in the Dulles area. I mean, I went to a lot of the different shows. Industry events are always important to hear a perspective of who your target market, where they're going, what they're thinking. Always take advantage of things. But one of the things that you've got to realize is you've got to have a return on investment with your marketing. Mm-hmm. And one of the bigger complaints of marketing departments is that sales doesn't follow up on leads. And sales will say, well, marketing doesn't give us good leads. For 20 years, I think both groups are right. And one of the things that I try to point out to people is figure out how to bridge that gap, and doing an event that will lead. Set your lead. How many leads are we going to? So if we're going to have to invest $5,000 in this show, what is our target? What are we going to get out with it? And what's the strategy? What's the research? And all these esteemed speakers here are talking about. Go do your homework. Go do it unbelievably well. Find out where they're spending, from credit cards to past awards. Go do all this research. Grab those kind of people in your events. And, like Mark was saying here, we're all pretty aware of who Carahsoft is in this space, but they're leveraging easy-to-use technology that's open to everyone, and they're penetrating. But the key for any program you do as a small business, what will be the return on investment? What are you going to do for your post-event lead follow-up to drive business? And those are some of the critical pieces you got to have answers to.
And to piggyback on that, one way to make any industry event effective 100% of the time is to have an opportunity to discuss. If you're going to an event and you're walking in the door and you know nothing about the agency, nothing about anyone attending, you don't know who the primes are, you don't know who's got the large contracts, you're wasting your time. Mm-hmm. What you need to do is be able to walk in and be targeting the contracting and acquisition folks or the small business folks or the prime contractors or teaming partners and talk a specific opportunity. You'll walk away with something then.
There's different kinds of industry
Yeah.
events in this market, so let's break them out. There's trade shows that'll cost you $5,000 to come and exhibit, and you'll give away trinkets for 3 days to whoever meanders by with a shopping bag. That's one kind of show.
It's the very person you don't need.
Yeah, and those are the trinket hunter events you don't want to be there.
Two baggers.
There are associations in this market. AFCEA is a predominant one, Industry Advisory Council, Professional Services Council, Guys Organization, and NDIA. And all of these are much more economical to attend. We're talking about $30 to attend an event, and they bring people out who are executives in the government agencies that will talk about their programs, their plans, what they're going to spend. And it's those events that have a payoff. Those are the great ones. They're cheap, and you just have to go. And go with the intention that it's not a speed dating exercise where you're trying to hand out your business card to everyone who's there. You go to learn to understand. And if you want a crib note, write on the back of your hand, best informed wins. And carry that with you wherever you go. Learn everything you can about the market, your customer, what they're buying. Best informed always wins.
So I want
I
to
think
close the thoughts on this, so just really quick, because we want to move on to the next section, but Hillary and then Guy.
I just want to say, while you absolutely should determine which events to go to, determine carefully who the best person in your organization is to go.
Absolutely.
So many places just send their low-level person, and then that's a waste if they're going to. So.
No.
Guy and then Mark to close out.
Yeah, well, no, and kind of on what Bob was saying about the different types of events also, speed dating is actually one of the events that they do also, and
right.
and whether you go to the NATE conference or the NSA exchange or we did one for SSA and so forth, there are those opportunities, and you get FaceTime with either folks in government or folks at the prime contractor level too. But one of the things that I'll mention, and just from the tabletop standpoint, a lot of folks do these tabletop expos through Federal Business Council and NCSI and groups like that. What I'll say is, I used to work for one of those companies, but also used to buy those shows all the time. And one of the things, I thought Gloria was going to say it earlier too, because we had this discussion years ago, don't rely on those companies to market you.
Right.
They're going to market the event to get the
Amen.
event out there. So what you've got to do is pre-market yourself. I remember going out to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base years and years ago, doing a show out there, and I just literally did carpet bombing, no pun intended, on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base through the mail system and everything else, talking to the B-1B SPO and the F-16 SPO and everyone else, and got people to come out and see us while we were there, and made it a meaningful experience. So take it in your own hands, quite honestly, on that marketing standpoint, and make those types of shows. Those tabletop expos now are what, $1,000 a pop. I remember when they were $200 a pop. So I'm old, I guess, but you've got to make them pay off though, and so that you've got to take your destiny in your own hands.
All right, Mark to close out with a couple of thoughts.
Couple of stats, not thoughts.
Oh.
91% of feds are using some form of social media.
Absolutely.
94% of contractors are using some form of social media. LinkedIn is the fastest growing with both communities.
Yep.
Great point. And I'll throw in GovWin.
GovWin is more robust information.
Well,
How's that?
and one little thing about social media
Go ahead.
too
Yeah.
is one of the things, and I mentioned this. I actually responded on the GovWin site to someone that was asking about how to find the pre-bid conferences, things like that.
Yes.
And if nobody else has seen it, I'll be the first to tell you. GSA and a lot of other agencies out there now, Navy's doing it, Army's doing it, are posting pre-solicitation conferences, pre-bid conferences, industry days, things like that. Go find out what their Twitter account is, find out what the Facebook page is, link up with it and track it, because you'll get notified of stuff happening on there that'll be relevant to you.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So let's talk about teams and building teams both from an internal perspective and an external